Hi guys, and welcome to the video for this week's task. I hope you're all well. So this week's task is to make some sketch models using an idea generation technique called Take Your Pencil for a Walk. So these are some of the models that I made earlier on in good old Blue Peter fashion. So the good thing about using this technique is I would never have come up with these designs for chairs and coffee tables without using this technique. So as I said before in the documentation going along with this, if I asked you to design tables and chairs, you'd probably come up with something looking fairly similar to the sort of tables and chairs in your house. So the idea about idea generation technique is that you come up with something unique and interesting, and then maybe these aren't the best ideas, but I could certainly refine these and make them a little bit better and look a bit more comfortable and a bit more. But I might just take away sort of just one or two of the sort of elements of this and use them in my designs. But I quite like the wee designs I came up with. So I'm just going to talk you through using Take Your Pencil for a Walk to create some sketch models for these for your table designs and your something to sit on designs. I've purposely left that brief quite open so you can be a bit more creative with it. So excuse me while I get my camera rigged up. Right. So guys, taking your pencil for a walk, all we're going to do is, what I quite like to do is just to use a combination of straight lines and curvy lines, and one thing not to do is just to go crazy and go pencil all over the place. Take a bit of time just to do some, you don't want it too busy, you don't want it too empty either, so yeah, there's no exact technique to this, but there's certainly a few do's and don'ts. So I'm just going to start, I'm going to go from corner to, or edge to edge, come in and give it a bit of a curve. I like to use a combination of curvy lines and straight lines because that means that whatever I kind of make will probably have a combination of some curvy lines and straight lines. And then immediately when I start talking about the design of it, I could start talking about how it's got contrasting lines, makes it look more striking, more visual impact and things like that. So as you can see, I'm not really thinking about this too much, but I'm trying not to make just a big mass of squiggles. Nice combination of curvy lines, straight lines, going to the right to the edges sometimes, not always, and just don't be tempted just to go crazy and do a big massive squiggle. It's called taking your pencil for a walk, so make sure your pencil walks all across the page and it walks in a combination of straight lines and curved lines. And I think I'm going to leave it about that. So I've got a few interesting shapes on there. So the next part of this task is for me to start sort of picking out combinations of these shapes. I'm not just going to take individual shapes, I'm going to sort of grab shapes that I think are quite interesting, then combine them, and that'll be the next stage of this. So how I'm going to do that is just start going over some of these shapes in a darker line, so I know that's what I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to take this bit around here. I'm going to take this bit, I think. Might come back down here. Take this curvy bit. I'm going to take this bit. I don't want to make it too big. I want to leave some stuff to make other shapes out of. So I'm just going to follow this up to here. So that's going to be one of the shapes. Pick up another shape. I'm going to take this as one big shape here. from inside here as well. This is going to be a shape. So I'm trying to make my shapes quite big as well. It's going to help me out when I come to start making these into models. If you've got tiny little shapes, you'll find that you're folding it and it becomes, whatever you're making becomes very, very small and really fiddly to work with. So try and give yourself some reasonably large shapes to work with. So I've got 1, 2, 3 here. Hope you can see them. And I've not got much more choices to make anything else. So I'm just going to take this corner all the way up to here, I think, like that. Take all this. So, next part of this is to cut these shapes out. So, I've got a pair of scissors here. The paper I'm using is quite thick paper. Some of the other stuff that you might want to use is a card from a cereal box. That's ideal because it's thin enough to cut with a pair of scissors. But it's also got a bit of structure to it. Try and use something a little bit thicker than your standard sheet of paper. But as I say, cardboard boxes, your sort of thin cardboard boxes, cereal boxes are ideal. If you've got slightly thicker paper, that also works really well.
Obviously be careful when you're using scissors. One shape, 2 shapes. So I've got some pretty weird and wonderful shapes here. Right now we don't have a clue what I'm going to come up with. But the task, the brief was to come up with a couple of ideas for chairs or something to sit on. I should stop saying chairs because it doesn't necessarily have to look like a chair. It could be a bench or something like that. And something to use at a table. I'll just finish off this one.
Right, so table or chair. Quite like the idea of it maybe being a chair and these sort of being legs. So the idea is I'm going to start bending and folding this to try and make a 3D object. My 2 options were tables or chairs. So how am I going to do this? Could be a back of this. This could be the seat. As I say, there's no ideal way. Your shapes will be different from mine, so it really is just a case of experimenting and folding. Try and test to see if a fold might work first. So I kind of want this to be up like so. Not too stable just now. So perhaps if I folded that back down as a sort of small backrest. I think I could still do with a bit of work. So I'm going to fold this up to be the seat back. Fold that over and hopefully that can support the back. A little bit wonky. I'd quite like to get that sitting a bit better. So I'm going to go with that as an option for a chair just now. It's quite stable. It's always a good test to see if something might work. Could have put some weight on it and would it support it. Quite like the side view of it. So these are good ways just to begin to explore a few ideas. It might not be the most amazing looking chair just now, but I'm sure if I developed it a little bit and maybe developed this side view, I could come up with something quite interesting. So that's option one. That's one chair. I'll maybe give a table a go. So quite like this shape as my tabletop. So I'm going to try and fold things to make a tabletop out of this somehow. I quite like it if it came across here. So obviously it's not going to stand up just now, so trying to fold it so that I could get it to support itself. I might just do the same again here. So the idea with sketch models is that these aren't final designs by any means, but it might just give you a little bit of a spark of imagination about how you might continue to develop this into a workable idea. Quite like that as a little table now. I'm just going to leave that as is. There's one table. I've got a couple more shapes, so I've got options for chairs or another table. So I think I'm going to go for a chair with this one. I'm going to go for a sort of more of a bench style thing, I think. I'm not sure about this fold. Looks quite stable. Yeah, quite like that as a kind of bench shape. I'm not so sure about this big triangle on the back, so I might do something with this as well. Sort of fold it again. And this might become some sort of secondary function. So it could become like a little magazine rack or something at the back. Somewhere to keep your remotes or something like that. So actually I quite like that little bench design. And so for option, there's my two chairs now. Got a sort of table. I'm going to go for another table option. It's got an unusual shape this time. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with it again, but it's best to start folding, I think. See what happens. Quite like this if this maybe folded down on top of there. So quite like that one as well. Could be a sort of desk or something like that. So lots of interesting shapes, lots of interesting ideas that would never have come up with had I just started designing a chair or a table. So that's the idea of using an idea generation technique. Take your pencil for a walk's quite a nice one, but it's way more useful, I think, if you start creating 3D shapes and things like that out of it as well. These would accumulate marks in your folio, so if you photograph these and put them down within your folio and annotated them, saying why you liked them, why you didn't like them, whether it was stable or not, whether it was something that you were going to follow up and refine and develop, that would all accumulate marks in the folio. So it's a really good technique to use, and it's a nice way to sort of explore lots of different ideas that you might not normally have come up with. So good luck everybody. I'm looking for 2 sketch models for tables and 2 sketch models for something to sit on, and I want you to use the Take Your Pencil for a Walk idea generation technique. Good luck everybody. Cheerio. Bye bye.